My guest today is Diana Esther, an author, poet, speaker, and transformational coach. Diana's life hasn't always been easy. Although she's faced many challenges, including surviving lymphatic cancer, she understands now how they were all here to shape her. Today, she helps others connect with their own inner light. Through her transformational coaching programs and her book, she helps others to find their own brilliance, their own diamond within. Thank you so much for joining us, Diana. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Nadine, for having me.
It was so cool. We just kind of we did a little preamble before we hit record, and we found out a little bit about each other. But yeah, your energy is just really beautiful, and I'm really excited for our conversation.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with your story. It's a really interesting story, and a story where you've overcome so many odds, and a story which has really led you to the work that you do today. So, do you want to, kick off by sharing some of that with us?
Yes, yes.
Great.
I'm looking at life as a multifaceted diamond. We all come into this world with a mission. We simply don't know who we truly are because it's part of the game of life. We simply forgotten who we are. The reason why we forgotten to be able to make new choices, because life is all about making a choice. And those choices lead us to certain actions that shape our life and who we truly are. We all, the rough diamond within, going through challenges and many different experiences in order to understand who we truly are and bring us back to our heart. Because our heart is a source of wisdom and knowledge. We simply forgotten who we are. And if you be living mainly on the outside, using experience and expertise of others, thinking that we are very, very limited and we need to learn and study in order to become someone. But if everything you ever wanted to achieve and everything you're dreaming of, you already have and you already achieve within you. You just have to awaken this wisdom and knowledge. I want to take you back in time. I was born in the former Soviet Union at the time of Cold War and darkness. My soul came here to experience happiness and joy of life. But instead, I felt disconnected. I felt emotionally unsupported and not allowed to do everything my soul wanted to do. I wanted to experience joy through dancing and music. And unfortunately, I was denied that at the very, very early age. And at some point in my life, because I couldn't express everything that I felt, I ended up being in the hospital with excruciating stomach aches. I virtually felt like I'm dying. My body was getting ice cold and doctors didn't know what to do with me because at the time of Soviet Union, we had no painkillers available. Only after diagnostic doctors will actually create a painkillers suitable for you. So it took several days for doctors to realize that I have chronic liver and gallbladder disease, which was not heard of for the child of my age. So it was a moment when I was lying in the hospital bed. My body was getting ice cold, and I felt I'm about to go. And in that moment, I felt heat coming from within me and a whisper telling me to hold on. This is not the end. You're going to live. just trust. And this whisper I have never heard in my life before. I've never shared the feeling with anybody, but something make me to trust this feeling so deeply that it lasted for the rest of my life. This inner trust, without understanding what it was, whether it was my inner knowing, whether it was something else, because I grew up in non-religious or spiritual environment. And I had no clue about soul, energy, or anything. And living in this limited environment does not allow you to learn or to ask the questions, because books were not available, teachers were not there, and you actually can put your parents into very negative environment, and by exposing any kind of new beliefs or asking questions, you can actually put them in danger. So I kept very much to myself, and everything I wanted to know, I was kind of speak to myself from within since I was a child, trying to understand why things happening in my life and how can I get out of this situation. So this inner voice is like, it's my connection to my diamond within, which obviously at the time I knew nothing about it, that helped me to leave Soviet Union at the time when it was impossible to leave, because Soviet Union was a closed-in environment where nobody even could go on holiday to United States or to England or anywhere else, even to other social countries. So you live completely, it's like in prison. You live, and the only thing you know, it's what you've been told. We had only one newspaper that used to call Truth. It's called The Truth. It was fascinating because it was no opposition and nothing else. So you only was fed the information you were given. And after this incident, I decided to myself that I want to become a doctor. I want to heal myself and heal other children, because I went through a lot of not only emotional but physical pain that took all my childhood until the moment I left Soviet Union. I was suffering from chronic liver and gallbladder disease, virtually being in pain every day and being in and out of hospital 7, 8 times per year. So it was very, very difficult childhood. And when I decided to become a doctor, I studied well, as much as I could. And the moment when I wanted to enroll into the university, something dramatic happened in the world, preventing me from entering any universities in Soviet Union, because I was born in the middle-class Jewish family. And the war of 1967 actually stirred the anti-Semitic wave in Soviet Union, which has never been the case during my childhood. It was something unusual for me. I always felt Russia was my home, preventing me from studying in the university just because I was Jewish. I felt my life came to an end. And everything I ever wanted and dreamed about just broke in millions of pieces. So what should I do? I was angry. I was frustrated. I felt I stuck in life that wasn't mine. So I turned within and I asked for guidance. And I was guided to a group of young Jewish children that, like me, wanted to have future and wanted to leave Soviet Union, if it ever would be possible. So we applied to an Israeli government and asking for invitation to leave the Soviet Union at the time when it was not possible. What was interesting that invitations have come, and it was hard to understand what actually made them to come, because every letter at the time was censored and opened. But those letters that were meant for us came through. So when we applied to a Russian government, obviously I had to ask my parents for permission because I was underage, and I did not know myself how much difficulty and shame it will cause them by doing this action. But out of love for me, and I was the only child, they went all the way. So we all placed the invitation asking to leave Soviet Union. And my father, who was a military man, he was stripped of his honors immediately. He was thrown out of the army, not allowed to work. My mother was the only family provider because she was working in the catering industry. And she was such an amazing worker that the manager just could not see to let her go. So it took a lot of courage from him to keep her going, because if this would become evident, he would lose his position and most probably his life. So all the years of waiting, which took about 4 years of waiting, we had no financial support. My mother was working undercover. My dad was not allowed to work, and I could not study and do anything. So it was sheer hand of God and higher guidance that in one moment of time, when America put a lot of pressure on Soviet Union to finally let the Jewish people out and stop just talking about it, we've been given 48-hour notice to leave country with 3 suitcases and $250 of equivalent currency. Passports, identity, citizenship was taken away from us. We were virtually thrown into the unknown. And not only literally, we took the train ride from the town I was born in, which is Odessa, through whole of Ukraine into Austria. And in the middle of that train ride, we were actually thrown out of the train into the wilderness at midnight. Even so, the tickets were paid and everything was legitimate. We were thrown out, and when the train stopped and the train driver came out and said, "Everybody out." So my father stood up and said, "What do you mean out? How can we go out into unknown? We're about, we meant to go all the way to Vienna, to Austria." So the guy threatened him with his life. And he said, "You either go out or you end up in Siberia. The train will change its trail, and the only way out is to Siberia." So we went out midnight. It was during the winter, -20, walking with suitcases into the unknown without lights, because those days in Russia, we had not even street lights. So we walked all night. The only thing I remember, we finally, by morning, came to next village and next train station, where we went through a lot of humiliation and custom search, and that only gave us 2-3 minutes before the next train would leave to Czechoslovakia. So when I finally was sitting in the train that took me into freedom and into the promised land, I felt the emotions overwhelm me. I remember every moment of it. And I remember when we came to Czechoslovakia and I saw the customs coming into the train. And for the first time, I saw people smiling. I never saw smiling people before that, because in Russia, nobody ever smiled during the Soviet Union. It was not normal. If you smile, something wrong with you. You're not mentally stable. So beginning of my life was very traumatic, but it was curse and a blessing connected me to the diamond within that up to this moment is, I would say, my biggest asset and my where I draw my strengths, my resilience, my wisdom, and my knowledge, helping women to be strong, to be powerful, to get to know who they truly are.
Wow. What a story. And I think it really puts into perspective, like in the 21st century, we worry about a lot of things. And obviously, we've got a lot of exposure to so many things going on around the world. But we don't really always appreciate what we have. And then when you're generous enough to share a story like that, it really puts into perspective how fortunate so many of us actually are. And you've used this to become more resilient, and it's part of your life journey. It's you've created your world around these experiences, and they've carved the pathway for you. Now I know that this story obviously goes on for a lot
Yes.
longer, and then um, can we jump to, like, I want to hear the whole story. I could happily listen to you all day, to be honest, but there's other questions I have.
Yeah,
I'm
of
really
course.
curious about you. You mentioned as a child that you were in and out of hospital, and you mentioned that those illnesses were directly related to emotions,
Yeah.
like unsatisfied or unfulfilled dreams and your emotions. Later on in your life, I don't know how much further along, you were diagnosed with lymphatic cancer. Can you talk to us a little bit about that part of your story?
Yes, definitely. It was time when my daughter was 3 years old. My husband and I met in Germany, married after 2 weeks. And
Love it.
and yeah, I was actually a tourist from Australia coming to Europe for the first time
Okay.
and walked into my husband's home, talking about destiny. And after 2 weeks, we got married. And I remained in Europe. And his dream was to study diamonds and colored stone business and to go to study to US. So I said to him, whatever you're going to study, I'm going to study. So both of us, after a year of waiting and applying, went to study diamond business. And I fell in love with the diamond, not just as the jewel. I felt a special connection between the diamond formation and the human life.
Mm,
And I felt such appreciation, not because it's just a sparkly jewel, but the resilience of this diamond that started from just a piece of carbon and allowing itself to go through all the harsh conditions and millions of years of transformation to become valuable and beautiful jewels that everybody wants. And that's who we truly are. We are those diamonds within, but we've forgotten who we truly are. So those days, when we finished our studies and came back to Europe, it was huge recession of 80s. And diamond business, it hit diamond business very hard. And we tried to be part of the industry, tried for about 9 months, nothing happened. Went back to Australia and traveled the world. And back in 90s, we came back to live in Germany. And it was a time where we have to make living and working virtually 7 days a week, opening new business, forgetting about rest. And I had a little child of 3 years old and not knowing German language, trying to learn, not having nanny, not having help, doing and juggling all the things myself. One of those days, I felt physically not well. I did not know what was wrong with me. We were about to go on the holiday to the south of Italy. And one morning I woke up and I had something on my wrist that looked odd, like a mosquito bite. And I said to myself, that's interesting. I have not seen this spot before. And as the time went on, it just would not disappear. So I said, I must go and just to investigate what is it, what that might be. So I went to see a skin specialist. He looked at the spot, he looked at me and he said something in Latin. And I asked him, what does it mean? He said, nobody knows where it's come from and nobody knows how to treat it. I have no clue what it is. I said, very interesting. He said, just in case I know you're going away, have a cortisone cream. Just protect your son from the sun. And when you come back, let me know if it helped you. Obviously, nothing helped. I came back to him, and the moment he took the biopsy, and the result came as inconclusive. Inconclusive. I was left completely in the unknown, and I said to myself, okay, let's wait and see. But the moment they took the biopsy, whatever it was inside of that spot did not like it and started to grow as a mushroom. So I went, just to make the whole story shorter, it took 2 years, 2 years of in conclusion, without any diagnostics. I was kind of living in the unknown, not knowing what's wrong with me and not understanding how to heal. I started to cough. I was coughing 24/7. Nothing would help me. Not normal medication, not alternative medication. And I decided to give up on medical field. Even so, I wanted to become doctor all my life. I decided to give up on medical field. If they don't know and I don't know, let it be. Whatever happened will happen. And at the last resort, my cousin told me about a friend of hers that otolaryngologist, because I was coughing so badly, she said, go and see him. Maybe he will come with some kind of decision, what's wrong with you. And he, as everybody else, obviously said that he's clueless. He asked me millions of questions and he could not understand the reason. But he said, look, what it is on your left arm. I said, sorry, but I don't want to talk about it because it's emotional for me. Nobody knows what it is. And I'm sure you will not be able to help. He said, look, for the last 9 years, I worked with somebody in Berlin in very, very big clinic. And he is from Austria, in his 80s and well known for his diagnostic skills. Why don't you go and see him? And I decide to go and see this guy. And the moment I went into his office, my life was changed 360 degrees. I just took my jacket off and exposed my left arm. And from sitting on the other side of the room, surrounded by maybe 15, 20 different students, he asked me the question, where have you been for the last 2 years? I said, what do you mean? He said, do you know you have lymphatic cancer and you're not walking out of this hospital? I was absolutely frozen. I couldn't even make a step. Like somebody hit me in the head so badly, I just could not come back to me. He said, call your family. You're staying in the hospital and you're going through all investigations. That night in the hospital was another very, very difficult time in my life. For the second time, I felt like life was drawn out of me. And I cried myself out. I cried not a river, I cried oceans. And it was a moment when I connected to this inner diamond, inner resilience within me, starting to speak to my cancer. I started to speak to my cancer and I said, I don't know who you are and I don't know why you are in my body, but I'm much stronger than you. And there is no way you can kill me. I know I'm resilient and I know that I will overcome every health challenge I have in my body. The next morning, when I went through all the tests, what happened, that all my inner organs were untouched. But obviously the issue remained on the surface and it was new and very unusual kind of lymphatic cancer that actually showed himself through the skin. It was not a skin cancer, it was lymphatic cancer that manifested through the skin. So it was not that many specialists in the world, I'm talking about back in 90s, who knew anything about it. So I was treated at the time with radiotherapy and been told not to get pregnant again, not to have a second child, and to be obviously under the supervision of hematologist, which is a doctor to do with your blood, because blood and lymphatic system run side by side from each other. And skin is just the point of manifestation. It's like showing itself, but the issue and the problem is within your body. It's within your blood. So it took, since I left the hospital and began to live my life, I cannot say my health improved dramatically, but because I had this inner whisper, my guidance and my inner trust, I started to live my life slightly differently, being more aware. I did not listen to doctors regarding not getting pregnant again. I did got pregnant with my son, and it happened without me doing anything for it. So when my son was born and was about 2 months old, I was about to go to a skiing vacation with my husband. And that morning, before shower, I was looking at myself in the mirror and I saw those bubbles and dots that I have not seen for quite some time came back. So I called my doctor and I said to him that I feel, I know how it looks and it feels like I'm having the same issues back into my life as it was promised to me because of hormonal changes in my body. And he said, you have to come immediately and we have to give you again radiotherapy. And I said, unfortunately, I've paid for my trip skiing for 2 weeks. And after my trip, I will come and see you. And he said to me, you're taking big risks, but it's up to you. So I went skiing, came back, and he was right. Because for the first time, those spots moved from left to right, and radiotherapy was no longer possible. So when I came to him, he said to me, now we cannot treat radiotherapy the whole body. It's no longer localized to one spot. You have to try with chemo. And chemo those days was at the very, very beginning. Even before chemo, they tried to give you interferon, which was a biological substance from animal body. But if it doesn't work, you can't try it again. It's like one off. So when I've heard the word chemo, it hit me emotionally, and I felt frozen inside of me. And I felt my body is just resisting with all its power against it. So I left the doctor's office. I came back home and I spoke into ether, asking for guidance. And I asked, if there is something in this world, help me to heal, show me. And I've forgotten about it because I had no knowledge. I had no one around me who had any kind of knowledge of any alternative healing or any kind of healing. And because I was not I was on my spiritual journey, but I was not aware what spirituality is. I simply trusted that it should come in. It should guide me, which always did. So what I decided to do, to see an alternative practitioners, which I knew nothing about the field. It just came into my mind to go and see alternative practitioners. And I went to see many. It was about 25 on my list. Each of them told me exactly the same thing. They would love to help, but they cannot give me any reassurances. And if I decide to go alternative route, I should forget about medical treatment because one cancels another. You can't do it. That was those days. Today is very different. So when I hit number 24, and it was no answer, I didn't get any answer. And I almost was losing my trust. I put all my trust in the number 25, who was head of the Homeopathic Association in Germany. And she was in Frankfurt. So I bought myself a ticket. I flew all the way to Frankfurt, book appointment, walk into her office, and felt, yes, now I'm going to find this answer. And she, like everybody else, said exactly the same script. And I burst into tears. And I said to her, I'm not walking out of your office until you tell me what to do, because I've got nobody else besides you. And I believe you know the answer. And Germans don't like the force. She got actually pushed back. We looked at each other for about a minute, and it felt like a lifetime. And she said to me, why don't you try macrobiotics? I said, what is it? I never heard of it. She said, it's a way to heal your body by using food as an energy, as an energy medicine. And I said, wow, I never heard of it. And my body was clapping within me, like the happiness and joy I felt, it was incredible without even understanding what it is. I said, can you help me to find practitioners, somebody who can help me to understand what I'm doing? She said, don't worry. somebody will call you. Go back to Berlin, somebody will call you. And it happened. A few days later, when I arrived back, the person from Switzerland, his name, I remember, Hans Schmidt, called me, and he introduced himself as a macrobiotic consultant and invited me to come for consultation, which I did. He was working in a very, very small macrobiotic association in Berlin with women from Italy and guy from Scotland, who was, each of them had a story of overcoming very bad cancers. And the guy from Scotland had leukemia of the last stage, and everything the doctors tried did not work. So they gave the child, who was 12 years old, back to parents, saying there is nothing more we can do. When I met him, he was 39 years old, full with health and helping others to heal. It took about 3-4 hours for them to give me, to ask me many, many questions, to provide me with a way of eating, giving me a plan how to heal my body, which was completely foreign to me. I knew I could not understand anything. I had to change my life 360 degrees from one day to another. So I've put it 100% of my trust in hands of those people. And I said, I need your help. I don't know how to cook it. I have no idea where to buy those products. I don't understand anything. And they were willing. They went all the way to help me. So each day I would wake up, eat nothing, come to the center at 12, eating the meal they prepared for me and take one meal back home. And learning to live different lifestyle, learning to understand the cause and the healing from within, changing everything in my life virtually from one day to another. I had no time to learn, to research, to think about it. And after 2 weeks, I had 40% success rate.
Wow.
I'm just having shiver right now because I remember that moment. I remember that moment because my chemo was booked after 3 weeks. So in 2 weeks, I've received already an amazing result. So I went to see my practitioner and I had wings. I explained to him what I did. He looked at me like I was alien and he said, do you really trust? It's all witchcraft. It's going to come back to you in no time. In my experience, yes, this kind of things, can become better, but it will definitely come back. And I was so discouraged and so upset. The only thing I asked him, tell me if it looks so bad that I had to take my actions here and now and go to do chemo in a week, or I have a little time to wait. He said, oh, the way it looks now, you still have a little time to wait. I said, in that case, thank you so much for everything, but you will never see me again.
Love it.
And I left. I went to see those guys and I asked them, now show me where I can study, where I can learn and heal. And they come up with a place in Holland in the wilderness. I left my baby and my child at home and I went to heal myself, living in this little school in the forest for 4 months. And that was beginning of my healing journey, beginning of truly connecting to the spirit within, understanding that everything in life is energy, how to bring my energy back into balance and understanding what was the cause of it. So it was time where my soul started to excel so fast that I felt I'm detaching from this life and people around me. So in order to kind of stop this process of fast acceleration, I started to experiment with foods and energies, how to bring myself back, but still healing my body and my soul. And ever since I created program, I created specific way of teaching people on their own level without using any scientific terms, but reaching to their soul from my heart to their heart, teaching who they truly are and helping them to activate the healing ability within that we all have. We all have it. It's only dormant. And if we don't trust that we can heal, we cannot heal. But the moment you understand that the way, that this is the way we have been created, our body is created for rejuvenation. We are not meant to, to born and to die. We actually can live forever. The only limitation that we put, it's within ourselves. It's our own limiting beliefs within us that holding us prisoners in our suffering.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. One thing that popped up for me as you were talking just towards the end there was a previous guest I've spoken to. She says you can't have faith and fear. You can only have one or the other. If you have faith, you can't have fear. You can't have faith if you have fear. And that really came up for me, and it sounded like that was you'd had to make that decision right to when you said I'm not going to have the chemo and I'm not coming back. That was that a perfect example of that in
I just
practice.
I just wanted to say that people very often misunderstand the polarity of emotions. You cannot possibly eradicate fear completely
No.
because we live in the world of duality.
Mm,
You cannot just erase negative emotions and say, I'm going to live the life of bliss.
mm,
In order to live the life of bliss, you have to understand the power of negative emotions because negative emotions and positive emotions are one. We're living in the world of duality in order to find the balance. And that's what macrobiotic taught me. The energy is all about coming back to balance. When we're getting out of balance, it's like being on the scale. The moment one part of the scale goes up and the one goes down, it shows you that you are out of balance. It can be emotional, it can be physical, it can be anything. When we're out of balance, we don't function full potential and we cannot heal because fear, there are two powerful emotions, fear and love.
mm,
We always either in fear or in love. But love is so much stronger because love has substance. Because I write spiritual poetry, I've been told that love is the matter between the cells. If we take energy of love out of equation, we will actually collapse. We would not be visible as a human being. Love holds us in physical state and give us resilience and power. Love is a state. It's not a feeling. It's a state of being. It's not just an emotion, but fear is something made up,
mm,
something false that looks very, very real. Because if you think about it, when we go into the fear mode, it's never in the present moment. It's always past or a future. My God, what it's gonna be?
mm,
What's gonna happen to me? What's going to happen to my body, what's going to happen to my relationship, or past negative experience. But the moment you connect to your heart, and the moment you connect to your diamond within and you breathe, everything changes, everything comes back to neutral. Everything happens in a balanced state. And I just wanted to say, because it's fascinating. I woke up this morning thinking, because I love acronyms.
Uh-huh.
Every word for me has a very deep meaning. I don't take words for granted because it helped me to heal. And by the way, I created amazing affirmation cards that's called 58 facets of the diamond consciousness that heals your body, mind, and soul. And I believe in power of the word because that's how the world has been created, with the word. So talking about breath is the breath of life. And if we create an acronym from word breath, it's called relax, be, relax emotionally, allow to heal.
Mm.
That's what breath is.
Yeah.
Breath helps us to be in the moment, to allow ourselves to come back to ourselves, regardless where we are, to create a state of balance. And it takes just 3 breaths during the day to bring you back to who you truly are by erasing everything that happened to you during the day, emotionally, physically. Just come back to balance, to erase it all and start it again. Because life is a journey, it's not a destination. It's something, and this breath of life helps me and help my clients to bring them back to balance. It's very simple. It's very easy. It's something that you always have. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to invest it. It's always within you. And by doing this, you invest into your health and well-being.
Yeah. Love it. You obviously, your story and this journey that you've been on is how you have connected to your purpose. And even the fact that you and your husband went to learn about gemstones and you learned about the diamond and that correlation that you found has become part of that story. When so your purpose is to help other women find that brilliance within,
100%.
to overcome the obstacles, the challenges, the difficulties that they may be experiencing. You obviously had your own healing experience from a physical manifestation in your body. Is that a big part of the healing? When people come to you, are they coming to you for physical healing, or is it more emotional healing, or is there a mixture?
Okay. I call myself a soul doctor.
Uh-huh.
I don't heal them myself. I
Mm.
help them to heal from, I teach them
Yeah.
how to heal themselves. And this is the most valuable experience and gift you can get. I come from my own inner healing and experience. I've created modalities. I created special meditations. I created special way of teaching, but I help them to ignite the healing within. Because once you do it, it stays forever with you.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to psychologists, when you go to energy healers, you always rely on somebody else's expertise. It lasts for a while, but it's never permanent. Our soul came here to evolve in consciousness. And the moment we excel in our consciousness, we begin to live completely different life. Because life is not about just doing. Life is about being and connecting to the power within. So I teach people how to heal themselves, how to tap to their inner power using all different modality that I created, including affirmation cards, which I believe with a passion helped me a lot. There is a lot of noise on the internet saying that, oh, this is rubbish, this is not important. I can tell you from my experience, when you talk to yourself, all your cells have ears.
Mm,
Your body and your inner intelligence listening to you 24 hours a day. You can use anybody's frequency, high frequency music, or, very, very easy way of trying to heal your body. But unless you connect to the cause of the problem within, you cannot eradicate it.
mm,
You have to understand that you are the cause of your own illness, and you have to take full responsibility for what's happening with you. And by understanding this, that it's not about others causing our problems and emotional turmoil, it's not about them. They are our mirror, helping us to understand why things happening the way they do and why we react on it the way we do. And I help women not to react, but by understanding to take the best action to heal their body, to heal their environment, and to heal their relationships. And the most important relationship is within you.
yeah,
That's
agree.
where it all begins.
That's where it all starts. Yeah.
No, yeah, because most of the people don't actually have a good relationship with themselves. They don't know who they are, and they looking for source of happiness and joy on the outside. Let's find somebody who fulfill my needs. This guy or this woman or this environment, it's not about anybody else but you. You come to this world by yourself, and you're going to leave this world by yourself. And whatever happened in between, it's your responsibility.
Mm, love it. There's a big movement at the moment towards this kind of work. You've been called to do it. You're stepping into that position to help women really explore who they are, to empower them to find their own brilliance, so that we become a reflection. We reflect out,
Of
right?
course.
Why do you think that this work is needed so desperately right now?
Because in order to change anything, the change does not come from outside. The change is happening from within. As within, so without.
Mm,
If if somebody is understanding on the spiritual level that soul came here to experience, we all chosen to be born. We did not born incidentally or accidentally. We've chosen this journey. We've chosen, we just forgotten about it. This journey of co-creation. And life is our playground. It's a school of life, school of experiencing, coming back home to yourself. Going through life without knowledge and understanding, learning as we go. We learn from others. We learn from our environment. We learn from our education system. We learn from our governments. But we never learn who we truly are. We learn things that are outside of us that most of the time we cannot control. We cannot control others. We cannot control government system. We cannot control other people's feelings. We can only control what within us. When we learn how to do it and who we truly are, everything comes from within, as within, so without. And our trust, we learn to live life based on our five senses. What I can see, I can trust. What I can touch, I know it exists physically. But we have to learn the other way. You have to trust first in order to believe.
mm.
You have to come from the trust from within you, because it's something that it's concealed, something that it's unknown, and we all have fear of the unknown. We don't want to put our trust in something we don't know and we don't feel it physically. But I'm talking about emotional feelings. Feelings is our weapon of love. Because in order to understand God, in order to understand who you truly are, you have to feel it. Feelings is our magnificent, it's our weapon, it's our medicine, it's our everything. We just don't know how to use them correctly, because feelings, it's like it's a tools of diagnostics. If you allow yourself to listen to your feelings and not disregard them and not push them and not put them under the carpet and say, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to touch those negative feelings. I'd rather forget. When you forget, you place the seed of something negative within your body that will grow for a long time. And all of a sudden, you wake up one day and you have cancer and you don't know why you have it. Why? And you feel victim of your circumstances. But it was you that placed the seed of this negativity maybe 30, 20, 40 years ago and forgotten about it. Because our emotions, our teachers, they came to teach us a lesson. And there are three things that are most important in life that I teach: awareness, acceptance, and allowing. The triple A of life: awareness, acceptance, and allowing. The moment you become aware, the field of information is open for you. It's like you open yourself a new world. Because until the moment you are not aware, how would you know? We live in very, very limited environment. And I always describe life, it's like living in a skyscraper. When you are on the ground floor, you only see what's in front of you. When you move higher up on the 25th floor, you have so much more view and so much more awareness that you can see and you can access.
Amazing. Diana, this has been a really insightful conversation. I've loved hearing your story and the work that you're doing. We're going to share all of your information in our guest directory so that people can find you easily. All of that information will be connected to the episodes as well, so everything in one place. I can't thank you enough for this generous conversation. Thank you.
Do you have my website, all the
Yeah.
information there?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We've got it.
Thank you so much, Nadine, for having me. Thank you for giving me opportunity to share my story and my energy, because this is my life purpose. I'm here to help millions of people to connect to their diamond within, to help them to shine. And I just wanted to say, every diamond, so is every human soul, is important.
Yeah.
And without us, the tapestry of life cannot shine as beautiful. So when people think, what can I do? I'm just one person. I'm nobody. No, you are the most important part of the whole. And without you, nothing will shine as beautiful and brilliant. So keep polishing your diamond
Love it.
to shine, to become brilliant.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Diana.